Are you ready for a shocking revelation? Turns out, reading culture isn't in danger. Teenagers are not killing reading. The culture of reading is, in fact, fine, as far as we can tell. Now, as I've said before in other videos, this is not a new conversation. As generations get older, they point the fingers at younger generations and say that they are the ruin of X, Y, or Z. Here in the UK, we've had the fact that millennials were killing pubs because we were going to cafes or just staying at home and being on our computers or whatever. People aren't going to the cinema anymore. Now, that one actually is a problem, apparently, from what I've read. People genuinely aren't going to the cinema anymore. That's why anytime I do go to the cinema, which is as much as I financially can, I go and support my local independent cinema. But reading is always in this conversation. Every generation reads less than the last, blah, 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 and it's not true. I did a video about this recently because I saw this clip online. I'm going to share it again here because it's relevant to the conversation.
English literature no longer makes the top 10 of A-level subject choices. English departments at universities are regularly closing. Studies show dramatic drops in literacy and reading, particularly amongst teenagers.
The decline of literature, I think, is most interesting to me as a kind of casualty of the end of the culture of reading, which has been a central feature of our civilization.
That video talks about the decline of the culture of reading, especially amongst teenagers, and I deconstructed and argued against that video in a separate video of mine a little while ago, but I have some more evidence, some more stuff to talk about, and it's all positive and good. I found it in a kind of weird place, not the kind of article I usually read, but it reinforces the positive attitude that I have towards reading and having faith in young people to enjoy reading. The article is from a publication called Retail Gazette, not the kind of thing I frequent. It is frequent. Something is frequent, but you frequent it. Frequent is a verb. Frequent is an adjective. Yeah, no, I know words. I'm a writer. I used to teach English. I know things. I don't. And the headline reads, Waterstones rides Gen Z reading boom with plan for 10 new stores a year. Now, I have my issues with giant chains and international conglomerates and big companies monopolizing any industry, any avenue, any corner of any market. Yeah, but overall, this is a sign of a positive trend. And yes, I know I'm British and I say Z, not Z, but everyone says Gen Z. It's just how it's said. We're not talking about Lord Zed from the Power Rangers movie. It's fine.
I am Lord Zed, Emperor of all I see.
And before I go any further, I did want to check that I was right when I used the word teenagers before, because every year we get older and I forget what generation are currently teenagers. Like, as a millennial, I spent all of my 20s, and I'm still spending my 30s, reading articles and seeing news clips from boomers talking about how young millennials are the death of this, that, or the other. And I'm like, mate, millennials are all in their 30s and 40s now. Okay, I'm 35, and I am right in the middle of the millennial generation. The youngest millennials were born in 1996. That makes them 29? Get a clue. And it's typically understood that Gen Z begins in 1997 and ends in 2012, which means the youngest members of the Gen Z generation right now are 13 years old. Fine. Teenagers. And lo and behold, teenagers these days, kids these days, this young generation, they are in fact not killing reading. Because, as this article talks about, there is a huge boom in reading culture. Waterstones is opening 10 new UK stores a year as younger adults turn to books as an escape from screens, with social media trends such as BookTok helping to drive sales growth. 10 new bookshops a year. And yes, they're all from the big conglomerate, but they are still 10 new bookshops every year. And from what I gather, independent bookshops are doing pretty well also. They're having issues with their finances, but that's more of a political issue, not an issue with foot traffic and the amount of readers. One of my favourite independent bookshops in the UK is right here in Glasgow. They're only open from, I think, Thursday to Sunday, and they are a very niche bookseller, selling only queer books by queer authors. And they're doing great. Bookshops are okay. When Kindles and e-readers were on the rise about 15 years ago. So many people were worried about physical books perishing, thus the death of the bookshop as well, and the death of the library. That didn't happen. Then we have that clip that I shared talking about how fewer teenagers are taking English literature at A-level and university, and I've talked about how I don't think that's the big deal that people think it is. And now we have this reinforcing the positive and hopeful attitude that I have about young people reading. CEO James Daunt credited a rise in younger shoppers rediscovering reading through TikTok recommendations and in-person book clubs. People have come back to reading and buying books in bookshops as we have made a place which is an enjoyable and effective way to buy books, Daunt told The Guardian. BookTok is an easy label to put on it, but this is about people wanting to read and talk about books. The rise in fiction sales is particularly strong. Waterstone said waves of interest in romance, romantasy, and fantasy are capturing the public's imagination, with UK fiction sales up 12.2% last year, according to the Publishers Association. That growth offset a 2.8% fall in children's books and a decline in non-fiction, leaving the overall print book market down 1%. Digital sales, however, rose 17%. I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised that slightly fewer people are reading non-fiction right now, and I'm thrilled that more people are reading fiction, especially as someone who reads 99% fiction myself. Fiction has been shown to increase our capacity for empathy. This is a good thing. And yes, I've had my issues with romantasy fiction, but I myself have read a whole bunch of good romantasy recently, and I'll be talking about one in my next video. Romantasy is good, or at least there is very good stuff within romantasy, and fantasy as a broader genre is also bigger, broader, more diverse and inclusive than it's ever been ever. So many people are writing and reading fantasy fiction right now, and I love it. It has exploded, as have other things in the fantasy genre. More people are watching anime in the West than ever before, and reading manga. More people are playing D&D and watching live streams of D&D. Thanks to things like Critical Role and Dimension 20, D&D is basically mainstream now. Fantasy is a big thing, and so many people are just eating up all the great fantasy fiction, both modern and classic. It's a good time to be a fan. This is really exciting. I understand that kids are choosing escapism because everything sucks, but they're reading. Kids are reading. Young people are reading. The kids these days, they're reading. Daunt said younger adults are embracing reading because it is relatively inexpensive compared with other leisure activities, and collecting books can quickly become a habit. You're telling me. They want to do something not staring at a screen, and relatively inexpensive. And once people start collecting books, they just buy more, he said. I'm not a big fan of CEOs, of billionaires, of people with a monopoly share in any market, as I said. I am an anti-capitalist. I don't like listening to these people, but he seems to be on the money and the statistics back it up. So, good news. From a weird location, it's a weird place to talk about this stuff, but that video clip that I shared before, it has been under my skin for ages because it's so much scaremongering. Look, what I'm about to say is completely anecdotal. It's quite hard for us to often talk about things outside of our own sphere unless we are citing sources and bringing in statistics and polls, etc. But in my experience throughout my life, as a reader, as a writer, as a teacher, as a child, as an adult, in my social and personal life as well as in my professional roles, reading has always been a more niche hobby than playing video games, watching films, and enjoying sports. That's how it is. But I have not witnessed a decline in the number of people I see reading in public, reading in parks, reading on public transport. The amount of foot traffic I see in bookshops and libraries. Libraries have always been quieter than bookshops, but if I go into a library on any given day, I am not the only person in there. And bookshops feel honestly more packed, more busy than ever, and the fact that we're getting more bookshops only speaks to that. I'm not worried. I'm excited. I think this is great. Again, I have my reservations about the fact that the monopoly holder of this market is only growing Yeah, I don't like that. But the fact is, more independent bookshops are also popping up all the time to offset that. In fact, again, here in Glasgow, I have seen one new bookshop pop up in the last few weeks. And that's just where I live. It's a big city in a big country. There's a lot going on. There are new independent bookshops everywhere, all the time. Things are okay. People are reading. And yeah, I am grateful to Romantasy for being this big new push. I really am. Maybe I need to stop being so cynical towards it. No, actually, no. We have to be cynical. Or at least critical. That's the word. I am critical when it comes to bad romantasy and the toxicity and the conservative values that it peddles. I've talked about that a lot and I will continue to do so. I like being the person who is critical of romantasy because it's so popular, it needs to be kept in check. You need to know the good, the bad, what to avoid, what to enjoy, the underdogs, etc., etc. You need to encourage people to move out of romantasy and into general fantasy and broader fiction beyond. I want to do that. I'm going to keep doing that, but I am very, very glad that people are beginning with Rebecca Yarros and Sarah J. Maas, and then I hope that they're moving into better romantasy authors like Sarah El Arifi or Thea Guanzon or Rachel Gillig, as I'm just discovering now. Rachel Gillig is great. Very glad to find that out. And then they might move out of romantasy altogether. This is trajectory. Maybe they'll start reading T. Kingfisher, Robin Hobb, N.K. Jemisin, Samantha Shannon, R.F. Kuang. R.F. Kuang and Samantha Shannon are probably as popular as any romantasy author. Things are good. I keep an eye on this stuff. Things are good. Things are okay. Kids are reading. I'll stop now. I'm just very excited. I'm very relieved and I'm positive about the future of reading. It's okay. It's going to be fine. If you've enjoyed this video, if you like the positivity of it, support me on Patreon because that keeps me feeling really positive. My Patreon money is the reason that this channel exists. My patrons keep the lights on, these lovely purple lights. They are thanks to my patrons. All of this is the fact that I have clothes on my back. It's all down to my Patreon support. I don't know where I'd be without it, so if you can support me, because I lose patrons every day, life is hard. People can only support you for so long. I don't begrudge anyone for anything, but that's why I always mention my Patreon because it ebbs and flows. And if you can support me, if you have $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever it is, if you can throw it my way and keep this channel going so I can share good news like this and keep doing good book reviews and good recommendations and writing my own fiction as well, well, I'd be eternally grateful. So thank you in advance for your Patreon support and subscribe for books.